Today's question is, can I ever trust myself again after betrayal?
Okay, before we answer that, let's listen to a review. So this says, helped so much. My husband and I will sometimes listen together. We will pause and discuss how we are feeling or how it relates to us, and then continue listening. Sometimes we listen separately and discuss the episode when we are together at night. I love it both ways for different reasons. One thing I know for sure is that we discovered this podcast at the perfect moment in our lives when we needed it the most. I'm not sure how our communication would be without learning all we have from you three. Thank you so much for being brave and sharing such personal aspects of your lives.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
And I love that you guys have found different ways to listen and to talk about it, really.
I tell my clients all the time, as part of like one of their just things that they can do to work on themselves, is to do exactly what that review said.
Yeah.
So it really does work, and it brings up conversation. It gets you thinking about things. So it's awesome. The podcast is
It's also that intellectual intimacy, right?
absolutely, yes.
Build another layer there.
All right, Ashlynn, can I kind of lay the groundwork for this a little bit, and then I definitely want to hear your perspective and your experience with this. Betrayal trauma is somewhat misunderstood and confusing, and so let me explain. When you think of betrayal trauma, most people think of somebody has cheated on me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has, looked at porn or acted out with another woman, an emotional affair, a physical affair, and that has traumatized me. That is traumatic. That's not cool and doesn't feel good. But that just is one piece of the actual betrayal trauma. In fact, I would go as far to say that that is not the most damaging part of betrayal trauma. Betrayal trauma runs deeper than that, and what happens is, when you're in a relationship with somebody struggling with addiction, there's a lot of shame going on from the person struggling with addiction, and in that shame, they can't be vulnerable in a relationship, and so they do things. One, they're living in a lot of denial, so they're not grounded in reality, so they're really hard to connect to. And two, they do things that try to get their partner or spouse to be unhealthy so that they'll stay in a relationship with them. And so the denial and the manipulation and the gaslighting and the crazy making and all of that stuff is all part of betrayal trauma as well. And what it does oftentimes is leaves a partner feeling confused.
Yeah.
Just not knowing what's up and what's down.
It's I can't trust myself, my gut, my higher power, what's truth, what's fiction.
They're trying to break down your intuition, your gut
Mm-hmm.
feel, because if you stay true to your gut, you're going to be boundaried. You're going to be honest with them. But if they can break that down, then you're going to be confused, and you're not going to speak up. You're going to tolerate certain things, and you're going to allow certain things to happen that otherwise you wouldn't, right? And so it's really confusing, Ashlynn. I don't know. Actually, I do know that you have experienced this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's not all Coby that broke down your trust of yourself, but it was complicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to it?
Well, I remember even just like Googling things like, what can I find the answers to, right? So maybe that's how people found us today.
Your gut was
Googling.
so off that it was like, I need
Google because I don't trust my spouse. I don't trust myself. And then I have, my friends or whatever coming in and giving their opinions. It was just kind of a cluster. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's just a mess inside of me. And it felt a mess inside I'm holding my chest, my head, it's all of it. And so for me, I don't even know. When I went in and actually got into specialized therapy for betrayal trauma and Coby for sex addiction, I didn't even know where to start because I didn't know what had
What was actually going on.
It was like whiplash almost.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't actually even know what's happened.
Right. What are we actually dealing with?
Right.
What has happened?
I've gotten some education, so I like it makes sense why I feel some of these things, but I still feel crazy.
Right.
I feel not myself. It made me into this person that I really didn't think I was.
Right.
I wasn't,
Right.
I became someone else.
Right. It's really confusing I think about, being in a relationship with somebody who's struggling with addiction. They can present in so many different ways and everything in between. So you can have a really angry partner who's just shut down and resentful and angry at you, right? Or you could have a really overly apologetic, overly compliant, avoids conflict at all costs partner who you can't connect to because they're not being honest in a relationship, but they're not being confrontational. So on one hand, you have one extreme. On the other hand, you have the other extreme. Partners that can't empathize or validate you or help you process through what you're feeling. And so it's really hard for you to be able to, while you're in that relationship, to be able to know, okay, like what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
What is reality? I have these feelings. I know certain things are not working, but I'm kind of being told, and in some ways you're being gaslighted to know like, hey, I am crazy. Like there's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm feeling all these feelings, because there's something wrong with me.
For sure.
Right?
Well, and you guys know I love Coby right now. Back then, when it was a lot of gaslighting and crazy making and active addiction, it was really confusing for me. And so when he would say like, you're not good in this area
Mm-hmm.
or this arena,
Mm-hmm.
I for sure took that on of like, this must be my truth.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, I'm not good at this, and this.
He must be right.
To unpack all of that
Mm-hmm.
was so much work for me.
Yep. A lot of guys struggling with addiction, they want two things. They don't want the consequence of their addiction. So they want their family, they want their wife, they want their children, but they still want their addiction. And so how can you have both? There is a way to have both. And what you do is you twist and turn and manipulate and gaslight your partner so that she's spinning off in Neverland over there, while you're getting away with what you're doing with your addiction. So she's blaming herself. She's turning it on her. She's wondering what's up and what's down. What she's not doing is staying grounded and knowing who she is, staying boundaried, staying powerful, staying strong, because she's so confused.
Right.
And
I wasn't very skilled at sharing my emotions then. And so for me, I just really did lash out in anger.
Blah.
Yes.
Yeah. And but then he could turn that on you, right?
Yeah. So
right.
while I'm over here in anger and fuming and just making up more evidences of like, gosh, he just makes me so mad and this is so hard. He's over here totally okay.
Right.
And living his life.
Look how unhealthy you are, Ashlynn. You're crazy. You're angry. You're not dealing with your emotions.
100%. When we went to therapy, it was because of me. Because I was mean.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But on the back end, these emotional affairs were going on and this pornography use and all this other stuff that was not the big deal in the relationship. It was crazy Ashlynn. Yeah. So that's just an example. That's like one example of that crazy make, right? We're using terms that we kind of throw around like everybody knows what they are. We've talked about gaslighting before. We've talked about crazy making before. But maybe Ashlynn, we can kind of define them and give some examples of them. Okay. Crazy making, I think, in and of itself defines itself. Yeah. It's
the loop of crazy.
Yeah. It's feeding that loop. It's trying to make your spouse or partner feel crazy. And I gotta say, sometimes it's intentional and conscious. Like, I'm gonna do this because I know it'll press these buttons and make her go nuts. And sometimes it's subconscious and pretty automatic. And just knowing like, hey, like this will keep her off kilter so that I can get away with some things.
Well, and the hard thing, I don't know if this plays into it, but as partners, we know what pushes each other's buttons. And so maybe that's part of the subconscious too. It's like, I know you feel this about whatever, so I'm going to push that button.
I know you're super sensitive about your relationship with your mom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to like bring that up
Dig
and
it.
throw it in your face. You know, when you're bringing up something that might bring out my relapse or my like all of a sudden I'm dropping the bomb
Yeah.
of your mom on you, and it's like you're defending that and you're getting all in drama, and that's just an example of distracting, throwing you off kilter, throwing you back into that loop of questioning yourself. That's crazy making, and gaslighting is a part of that. So you know where gaslighting comes from?
A movie?
Yeah, it's a movie from the 40s, where this guy would change the lights in the house just subtly, and the woman he was with would say, like, is it darker in here? Is it what's going on? And he'd be like, no, nothing. What are you
saying?
What are you talking about? And he's just slowly kind of feeding her this narrative of, you're nuts, you're crazy. But she wasn't crazy. But he knew what he was doing. He was gaslighting her slowly and subtly to help her feel crazy. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have some examples of gaslighting?
Yeah,
Ashlynn?
just some phrases that you might hear, and this can be even not from your partner. I never did that. You're the one who's lying. That never happened. I didn't say that. It's not that big a deal.
Okay, let me try this with some tone. This will be fun. I never did that, right? Like, what?
Yeah.
You're nuts, right? Okay, give me another one.
Stop feeling sorry for yourself.
Oh yeah, stop feeling so sorry for yourself. I mean, look at the messaging in that. Like, you're broken, you're wallowing, stop it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the healthy one here. Stop it, you broken person.
Yeah. I'm just joking. You're so dramatic.
Yeah.
Don't be so sensitive. Don't get upset over nothing. You're imagining things. You're twisting things. Why are you always so defensive?
Yeah.
You're too emotional. You need help. I heard a lot of those things.
Yeah.
I probably said a couple to Coby
that's
too.
that gaslighting to a T.
Yeah.
You know? Sometimes gaslighting can be, it can be like so subtle. So it could be like, man, I was just thinking about you and just like how much I love you because like you're struggling with depression and stuff. So do you see what I'm doing? I'm like, I love you. I'm a good partner, but I'm also reminding you that you're depressed, So
Okay.
I was thinking about, you're struggling with your depression, and I was just like wanting to know what I can do for you. Sounds wonderful, right? Sounds like I'm a loving partner. But if I have an agenda there to just make sure she knows like she's the kind of broken one.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm doing? So it can be really subtle at times. And so I do want to say this, Ashlynn. Betrayal trauma and sex addiction, it really does cause these things. And betrayal trauma, we call it multidimensional trauma. It's traumatic on many different levels. The beauty of it is this, though. We talk a lot about like not being a victim. And your partner has taken some control over you. They've gaslighted, manipulated. You can get healthy. You can get educated. And you can start to trust yourself regardless of whether or not they continue these behaviors or not. And so you do have the power to not play this game anymore in your relationship. Do you believe that?
I do. Yes. Because you've always been an advocate of, you can change your relationship by staying in your own lane, doing your own work.
Right.
I think especially stuff like this episode, to get educated enough to hear it. I didn't even know what it was.
That's what it is. That's what I've been going through.
To be able to maybe not calling it out right then in the moment, but at least calling it out to yourself to, hey, this is my time, my boundary to step away, take a break, whatever.
Right. But at least now, like even just listening to this episode, now you can say, okay, like I get it. I know what it is. I'm going to put words to it. I'm going to have boundaries around it. And I'm not going to engage in that anymore. Okay. So just getting educated is a start to start to not get caught up in it so much. And it's an example of how, and that's just one piece, getting educated, but it's an example of how you can get healthy unto yourself and move forward in your recovery, whether your partner chooses to do their work or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So your staying crazy is not dependent upon whether they get healthy or not.
Right. Which sounds really hard, especially if you're feeling that confusion of how do I trust myself? How do I trust Brannon when he says this?
Right.
But I know it's true. You've seen it. I've seen it with partners who they love their spouse so much and they want to stay with them, but they also know that's not their path.
I don't feel healthy. I don't feel good. Yeah. So, Ashlynn, I just hope that as we have these conversations, I think our hope all along has been to empower people through education, through hearing your experience, through understanding that these things are real. These things do happen. I was talking about it this week in a group, and one of the women said, "Oh my gosh, like I couldn't articulate what was happening to me, but now I know. Now I see it, and it's so helpful to just know what's actually going on." So, yeah,
you're not crazy.
You're actually truly not crazy.
No,
that's good news.
Yeah, that is a good news. There's more good news too.
Yes.
Because let's say we have people who are with us who are they are in a relationship. Maybe they've worked through some of this, or maybe they're still working through it, and they both want to work on it together in separate lanes. Right? We did create a program for that.
Oh my gosh, it's an awesome program.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it in a while.
We haven't
on the podcast. Go ahead, Ashlynn. You talk about it. Go for it.
It fits this pretty good. It's called Shattered Trust to Thriving Intimacy. So it is a program designed for couples, and it's a 6-module program, right? So it's not a 6-week program. It's meant for you to take your own time and to walk through it. It's all done on, you can do it on your phone, your computer. You can listen to it, watch us. There's worksheets. It's not just listening. It's like, hey, go and do the work.
It really helps a relationship go from kind of this crazy dynamic that we've been talking about to, it helps the partner, the person struggling with the addiction, to know how not to do that and to do the opposite. And for the betrayed to understand to get aware of their triggers and to start to move forward in the relationship. So yeah, shattered trust. It's shatteredtothriving.com.
Yes.
Right. And we have a coupon code.
Yeah. So this weekend is Labor Day. And so we figured we would just give you guys 35% off. It doesn't go on sale very often, but it's the code, all caps, Labor Day, for 35% off. And that's going to go through September 8th at midnight Mountain Standard Time, I believe.
Okay. So you got 3 days,
yeah.
Labor Day.
Think it over.
35% off. That's a big discount. So
yeah.
awesome.
And actually, if you go to our website, so whether it's beyond-enough.com or Shattered to Thriving, I think it's the number, there's so much information there. So if you have questions, go all the way to the bottom. There's an FAQ of all the questions that we got over and over and over that we've answered.
Yep.
There's testimonials of people who've done the program. You can hear from people other than ourselves.
Right.
Go check it out.
We'd love to have you in there.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.